Steffi Forrester remained motionless in the dimly lit Forrester Creations office, the paternity test results shaking in her hand like a live wire. The paper, crisp and scientific, revealed the inescapable reality in black and white. Dylan, the young woman who had discreetly introduced herself into their lives as Hayes' teacher and then as a lingering presence about the family, was Ridge's biological daughter. He was unaware of the existence of a long-lost daughter. The words blurred as her vision shifted, fear rising in her chest like bile. How can this be? Ridge, her father, the man whose legacy she had battled tooth and nail to preserve, had another child, a hidden one, who now threatened to devastate everything she valued. It had started innocently enough, at least at first. Dylan emerged in their lives months before, a soft-spoken instructor with a sweet smile and an incredible ability to connect with children. Hayes adored her, constantly chatting about story time and art projects. Steffi was grateful. With her busy job at the company and the continual tug of family strife, having someone dependable for her son felt like a small blessing. Finn, the ever-supportive husband, welcomed the arrangement, noticing how Dylan's calm personality countered the pandemonium that frequently surrounded the Forresters. However, small fissures had begun to appear. Dylan remained longer than required after pickups, her gaze flickering to Ridge with an intensity Steffi couldn't place. Steffi discounted the hushed discussions in the halls and shared glances at family gatherings as coincidence. Then came the seemingly innocent queries about Ridge's background, trips, and relationships from decades ago. Steffi felt uneasy when she overheard one such chat. Why would a preschool teacher be so interested in the history of a fashion mogul? The turning point occurred unexpectedly. A regular medical check for Hayes revealed something unusual in his records, causing Finn to delve deeper into the family health histories. When differences were discovered, what had started as a precautionary blood sample spun out of control. Finn, given his medical background, insisted on a full panel. Steffi laughed it off at first, taunting him about his worry, but the results were sealed and urgent. Ridge's name showed up in the genetic markers, which is impossible unless—
No, it could not be.
Steffi confronted Dylan privately and demanded explanations. The young woman had gazed at her with wide, melancholy eyes and revealed bits of a story that sounded like it came straight from the show's overblown screenplay. A mother who had vanished years before, hazy memories of a man with dark hair and a strong demeanor, and adoption papers that never quite fit together. Dylan had arrived to Los Angeles looking for roots, but he never expected to find them so entangled in the Forrester web. But Steffi wanted proof. She set up the test herself, slipping samples when Ridge was distracted by a heated conversation with Brooke about yet another collection deadline. The lab findings arrived earlier than expected, and now they were staring at her like an indictment. Ridge's daughter. Her half-sister. The term felt strange and venomous. Horror did not begin to express it. Steffi recalled all the times she had guarded the Forrester name, battling outsiders who wanted to take a piece of it, Taylor's children, Brooke's constant entanglements, and even Sheila's twisted intrusions. She had worked her way back to stability after losing everything, her marriage to Liam, the trauma with Sheila, and the never-ending cycle of betrayal. And now this? A secret brother with the potential to dilute the inheritance, disrupt relationships, and perhaps challenge her position as CEO of the corporation into which she had given her heart and soul. Her thoughts raced with the consequences. Ridge would feel devastated, thrilled, and conflicted all at once. He had always carried the weight of his prior mistakes, the children he had been unaware of until too late, such as Thomas and Steffi's own troubled arrivals. Another daughter would rekindle old wounds, forcing him to confront yet another chapter of recklessness from his earlier years. Brooke would explode. Her hatred with Steffi was legendary, but this would only stoke a fire that would never go out. A new Forrester heir, possibly descended from a woman Ridge had forgotten, would jeopardize Brooke's fragile balance. And what about Dylan herself? Steffi had learned the hard way that appearances can be deceptive. Sheila had previously worn a facade of vulnerability before revealing her demonic essence. Is Dylan actually innocent, or was this a deliberate insertion? Had she known all along, planning her way into their lives for vengeance, money, and fame? Steffi imagined Dylan at family dinners, sitting across from Ridge and calling him Dad, as she watched her own place deteriorate. The office door creaked open. Ridge walked in, his brow wrinkled from the dispute he had just escaped. "Steffi, you look like you've seen a ghost." She threw the papers at him, without saying anything. He surveyed them, uncertainty turning to shock. His face had lost its color. This can't be right." "It's right," Steffi replied, her voice shaking. "I ran it twice. She's yours." Ridge dropped into a chair, the powerful designer stunned to stillness. Memories flashed across his face. Nights in Europe, ephemeral loves, ladies whose names he couldn't remember. One stood out vaguely, a brief encounter on a design trip in the late 1990s with a woman who left without explanation. Did she carry his child? Have you hidden it? He couldn't stop thinking about the questions. Steffi paced, her rage mixed with terror. "How many more secrets, Dad? How many more people are waiting in the shadows to claim us?" Ridge grabbed her hand. "I didn't know, Steffi. I swear." "But you never looked," she replied. "You never wondered." The allegation was strong. Ridge had established an empire based on instinct and charisma, but family had always been a weakness. Steffi has paid the price far too often. Dylan arrived shortly after, prompted by a brief text from Steffi. She approached hesitantly, sensing the tension. Ridge glanced at her, really looked, and the resemblance hit him like a blow. The same powerful jawline and passion in the eyes. "My God," he muttered. Dylan's lips twitched. "I didn't want it to come out like this. I wanted to know where I came from." Steffi turned away, unable to watch the reunion. Horror coils tighter. This woman, this stranger, suddenly shared her blood and history. What if Dylan didn't just want answers? What if she wanted the power, name, and wealth? Steffi had fought hard for Forrester Creations, and she was not about to give it up easily. Days blurred into confrontations. Ridge attempted to bridge the gap by inviting Dylan to lunch and asking nice questions about her life. She discussed foster homes, loneliness, and the yearning for belonging. It tugged at his heart, just like it did with his other children. But Steffi sensed threats everywhere. She confided in Finn, who advised prudence. "Give it time," he replied. "Blood does not guarantee loyalty." But Steffi couldn't dismiss the fear. At night, she lay awake, seeing Dylan in the CEO chair, Ridge's pride shining on her rather than Steffi. Everything felt vulnerable now. The company, the family, the legacy. Brooke learnt quickly enough. The confrontation was explosive. "Another one?" she snarled at Ridge. "How many daughters do you have hidden away?" Ridge defended himself, but the damage was done. Katie smirked on the sidelines, relishing the ruckus. Thomas remained wary, detecting another shift in dynamics. Steffi threw herself into work, designing furiously to block out her thoughts. But each sketch reminded her of the intruder. Dylan began to visit Forrester more frequently, assisting with tiny jobs, her presence a constant reminder. One evening, alone in the showroom, Steffi gazed at a mannequin dressed in one of her gowns. She remembered her mother, Taylor, who had passed away but was still present in spirit. What would Taylor say? "Most likely, a fight will ensue."
"Protect what you own."
Steffi straightened. Horror lingered, but resolve solidified behind it. Dylan may be Ridge's daughter, but Steffi was the one who bled for this family. She would not allow a long-lost sibling ruin it all. As the sun set over Los Angeles, throwing golden light through the windows, Steffi muttered to the empty room, "This isn't over." The secret had been revealed, but the struggle for belonging had only just begun. In the Forrestos society, blood connections complicated everything, and Steffi would do anything to protect her place. The revelation spread across their life. Hayes inquired innocently about Miss Dillon, not understanding why Mommy was so tense. Finn mediated as best he could, telling Steffi that family grows, not shrinks. But deep down, she felt that the development might jeopardize the little serenity they had recaptured. Ridge spent hours with Dylan, putting together her story. She'd grown up thinking her father was a phantom, a name on a tattered parchment. Finding Ridge felt like fate, but she sensed Steffi's boundaries. "I don't want to take anything," Dylan said at a tense family meeting. "I just want to get to know you." Steffi listened with arms crossed. Knowing isn't the same as belonging. The words hurt, but they were accurate. Belonging to this family meant enduring scandals, betrayals, and never-ending drama. Dylan had no idea what she was getting into. Weeks have passed. Tensions simmered. Steffi scrutinized Dylan attentively, looking for flaws, ambition, deception, anything to substantiate her suspicions. But Dylan remained pleasant, helpful, and almost too perfect. It enraged Steffi even more. In quiet moments, however, uncertainty crept in. What if Dylan really was harmless? What if Ridge could use this opportunity to make amends for his past mistakes? Steffi despised the vulnerability that thought represented. She had constructed armor over years of pain, and allowing it to break felt risky. Ridge discovered her one night on the balcony that overlooked the city. "I know you're scared," he replied softly. "But she's part of us now," Steffi said, her eyes welling up with tears. Ridge drew her into a hug. "I'm not afraid of her, Dad. I'm scared of what she changes." For the first time in days, Steffi let herself lean in. Horror continued to simmer, but perhaps there was opportunity for something new. The family went on tentatively, secrets revealed but scars fresh. In the bright, volatile world of the bold and the beautiful, one more daughter meant another story full of passion, conflict, and the unshakable, messy links of family. Steffi was still in the doorway, her palms still resting on the brass handle, as if the weight of reality had turned her to stone. The words she had just heard replayed in her head, refusing to accept anything resembling reality. It felt improbable, even absurd, but the trembling in Ridge's voice made it clear that he believed what he said.
"Dylan."
Steffi had never comprehended the gravity of her name. Until a few moments ago, Dylan had been little more than a perplexing presence in their lives, a mystery woman who had appeared with remnants of a past that seemed only vaguely related to the Forresters. Steffi had been skeptical of her from the beginning, knowing Dylan was hiding more than she was ready to give. But Steffi had never imagined, even in her most dubious times, the prospect that Dylan could be connected to Ridge in such a profound and shocking way. Ridge's long-lost daughter. The statement seemed unreal as it formed slowly in Steffi's mind. Ridge sat on the edge of the sofa, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees, his hands clutched tightly together as if he were keeping himself together with sheer willpower. His normally confident demeanor had shattered under the weight of what he'd found. Steffi slowly entered the room. The silence between them felt thick and uncomfortable. "Tell me again," she asked softly, her voice trembling. "I need to hear it again." Ridge gazed up at her, exhausted and stunned. "I wish I could say I was wrong," he stated, but the DNA test confirmed it. Steffi shook her head, as if rejecting the result completely.
"No.
"No, that cannot be correct. There must have been some sort of error." Ridge said gently, "I thought the same thing. I had it run twice." The hush returned, even more profound than before. Steffi began pacing the room, her thoughts racing. Every memory she had of Dylan took on a disturbing new significance. Dylan had sometimes looked at Ridge as if he was trying to comprehend him. The questions she had raised concerning the family's history. The peculiar tension she felt whenever the subject of Ridge's early years came up. At the time, Steffi felt Dylan was simply curious, or manipulating. Those moments now felt like missing pieces of a puzzle that Steffi had no idea existed.
"How?"
Steffi finally asked. "How could something like this happen without anyone knowing?" Ridge breathed softly and ran a hand over his hair. "It goes back decades," he remarked. "Before I met your mom. Before most of your life, you know." Steffi stopped pacing.
"There was someone," Ridge added.
"A woman named Elena. We were young. It wasn't a serious relationship, at least not in my opinion at the time. But she left Los Angeles abruptly. I didn't hear from her again." Steffi's gut tightened. "And she was pregnant," she explained quietly. Ridge nodded. "She never told me," he replied. "Not one word. I had no notion." Steffi sat carefully across from him. The seriousness of the situation was beginning to seep in. For years, Their family history had been convoluted enough. Love triangles, betrayals, reconciliations. But this was something altogether different. This involved rewriting the history. So, Dylan, Steffi started, is Elena's daughter, Ridge explained. Steffi glanced at him. And mine. But Dylan didn't even know, Ridge swiftly added. She found out recently. Elena left behind letters. Dylan discovered them after her mother died. The story progressed slowly from there, with each piece adding another depth of horror. Elena had raised Dylan alone, never talking about Ridge. Maybe she thought she was protecting both of them. Maybe she feared rejection. Ridge could only speculate now. But after Elena's death, Dylan discovered the truth contained in those letters. A name, a location, a tie to a family she had never met. The Forresters. So, she came here looking for answers, Steffi explained. Ridge nodded again. At first, she wasn't sure, he explained. She needed proof. Steffi furrowed her brow as she neared me. Why didn't she just tell us? She was terrified, Ridge said. Imagine discovering anything like that. Your entire identity abruptly alters. She had no idea how we'd react. Steffi leaned back in her chair and exhaled deeply. Afraid. The word stuck with her. Because if Dylan had been scared, Steffi had been suspicious. Hostile, even. She remembered the chilly tone she used when they initially argued. The allegations she leveled at Dylan when she suspected the woman was attempting to manipulate the family. Guilt flashed across her breast. This is unbelievable, Steffi muttered. Ridge peered out the window, where the city lights glowed softly. I've missed an entire lifetime with her, he admitted sadly. All these years. Birthdays.
School.
Everything. Steffi watched him closely. Her father, who had always appeared strong and certain, now appeared weak in a way she had rarely seen. I keep thinking about what she must have gone through, Ridge went on. She grew up without knowing who her father was, wondering why her mother never informed her. Steffi clasped her hands together, attempting to comprehend her own emotions. Shock still dominated her thoughts, but something else was beginning to develop beneath them. Curiosity. There's also fear. Because if Dylan genuinely was Ridge's daughter, Steffi would suddenly have a sibling she had no idea existed. A sister she had viewed as an enemy. Where is she now? Steffi inquired. At the guest house, Ridge said. Steffi blinked. She didn't want to intrude. She feels she's intruding, she stated. Ridge gave a tiny, sorrowful smile. She's trying to give us time to process everything. Steffi rose up and walked slowly toward the window. Her reflection in the glass gazed back at her. A sister. The concept felt strange. Throughout her youth, the Forrester family structure had felt structured and familiar, despite the upheaval. But the basis had moved. There was a new character in their story. Someone related by blood. Steffi had no idea what this meant for her future. What are you planning to do? She asked gently. Ridge hesitated before responding. I want to know her, he stated. I want to be a part of her life if she'll let me. Steffi returned her gaze to him. What if she doesn't? Ridge's expression stiffened slightly. Then I'll respect that, he said. But I have to try. His determination was palpable. Steffi got it. Ridge had always valued family above everything else, even when relationships were tense or confusing. Nonetheless, this circumstance was fraught with uncertainty that neither of them could predict. How does the rest of the family react to this? Steffi inquired. I haven't told them yet, Ridge said. Steffi lifted her eyebrows. You told me first. You deserve to know, Ridge stated. And I needed someone to talk to. Those words filled Steffi with a weird mix of pride and pressure. She was now also responsible for keeping the secret. Outside, a distant automobile drove by, its headlights briefly sweeping across the room. Steffi took a deep breath. What does Dylan want? She asked. Ridge thought about the question thoroughly. Honestly, he stated, I believe she just wants the truth. And maybe a chance to belong somewhere. Steffi felt the statement sink deep into her chest. Belong somewhere. She was completely aware of her longing. For a minute, she imagined Dylan standing alone in the guest house, waiting, unsure of how she would be greeted by the family she had only lately discovered. Steffi had anticipated numerous hurdles in her life. However, greeting a long-lost sister was never one of them. "I need to talk to her," Steffi stated abruptly. Rich looked up with amazement. "Are you sure?" he inquired kindly. "No," Steffi acknowledged. "But I need to." He looked at her for a time before nodding slowly. "She's probably still there." Steffi paused briefly before stepping toward the door. But when she got to the hallway, she paused again. A torrent of questions returned to her head. What will she say? How could she confront Dylan after everything that had occurred between them? And, more crucially, how would Dylan react to seeing her? Steffi turned back to Ridge. "What if she despised me?" she asked gently. Ridge stood and approached her. "Then you'll have to earn her trust," he told her. "Just like I will." Steffi took in those words. Nothing in this situation would be easy. There would be awkward conversations, painful revelations, and likely moments when the entire family wondered how to proceed. But there was something else. A chance. A chance to cultivate a relationship that should have existed all along. Steffi straightened her shoulders slightly. "Okay," she replied. Ridge gave her an encouraging nod. As Steffi stepped outside into the cool evening air, her heart raced with each step toward the guest house. Lights shone softly through the windows. Dylan was inside, waiting. Steffi paused at the door to gather her thoughts one last time. Then she knocked. After a few seconds, the door opened. Dylan stood there, her expression cautious yet calm. When she saw Steffi, she looked surprised. "Hi," Dylan said quietly. Steffi was speechless for a moment. She looked at Dylan differently now, looking for signs of ridge in her features. The resemblance was subtle, but once noticed, it could not be overlooked. Steffi swallowed. "I know," she replied softly. Dylan's eyes opened slightly. Ridge must have told her, as the look suggested. Neither woman spoke for more than a moment. Steffi finally exhaled. "I didn't come here to argue," she explained. Dylan stepped aside after carefully studying her. "I came because I think we need to talk." "Okay," she replied. As Steffi entered the guest house, she realized something that would change everything going forward. This conversation was no longer limited to secrets. It was about family,